Stenciling. Thank you for joining us today. If you're not familiar with where we're at, we're a little north of Houston. Today we're working, sorry about the lighting, we are working in my fitting room. And this used to be the outside wall of the the house that this used to be. They converted this into a bathroom, and now it's a hot mess wall. I had my landlord cut off. There was pipes down here that were sticking out, so they cut the pipes off. So now I have done a lot of sanding, and there's a lot of exposed paper and just a lot of hot mess. And I didn't necessarily want to do the same treatment I did in my main floor with the paint smear. So other than throwing a paper bag on this, I had the idea of throwing a paper bag on it. So we've got some builder's paper, and we're going to tear these up into strips and pieces, and we're going to attach them here to the wall, and we're going to see how that goes. We have torn pieces of our builder's paper. This is what it looks like, and we've crumpled it up. So we have divided into sections that are jagged, and then we also have sections that have a flat edge, so it'll go against all of our flat edges that we have here going on. So we are going to go ahead and we're going to start with the top coat. Satin top coat's how we're going to apply it on our wall. I've already dusted and cleaned the wall after we've sanded it down. There was some major stuff happening here, you guys. This was, like I said, a bathroom. A lot of holes, a lot of caulk, a lot of things attached to it, so it's really in rough shape. So I'm going to try to do the most economical way, aside from putting paneling up. I didn't really want to put paneling up because I didn't really want to go home and get the saw and all that mess. So I'm going, in my mind, the easier route, the lazier route. So we're trying the builder paper. We're going to go ahead and use that real quick. So I'm going to go ahead and start my satin top coat, and we're going to start applying this to the wall. I've gotten started with my first piece here. So just trying to get what's easier for you, the rhythm that works best for you. Like I said, we're using a satin top coat. I am just applying, we're going to overlap it here about a ½ inch. So I'm going to liberally apply my top coat to the wall. I'm not concerned so much about the floor. We are going to redo the floor on another day. And we have more walls in here that we'll have to redo as well. So we have to get really inventive and creative on some of these. So I'm just going to overlap a bit here. So now it's all papery and rough there. So now I'm going to take my top coat. I'm just going to apply this over it. And that's all we're doing today. I'm going to make sure I've got it underneath this section because I may have had, there we go, make sure we get it all covered. That's the biggest thing. And you want it to be all saturated. So we're just gonna get that nice and on there. And if you lose a brush, bristle or whatever from your, because I'm using a cheap chip brush today because I'm not gonna use a good brush on this project. It just seems like it's gonna be pretty messy. So, all right, so we got that nice and on there, and there's another bristle. I hate these. Chip brushes are so handy, but sometimes cheap. You don't want to overwork it, because you can rip your paper. Get that bristle out of there. All right, so I'm gonna just kind of smooth this out. The inside going out, and again, like I said, don't overwork it. I'm getting a few bristles out of there. All right, so we are going to continue doing this section of the wall. We've got the wall completely covered. Now it's time to let it dry. Now again, to recap, we have taken builder's paper that you get at your local hardware store, or you can take trash bags, the paper ones, or you could take the grocery store bags, lunch sacks, sacks you collect from various stores, as long as they're paper bags, not plastic. And then just tear them into smaller pieces and crumple them up. And then that's what you're going to apply on the wall. Now we used the sides that have the straighter edges for along the ceiling and the sides and the floor area. And also have a little light fixture here, so I just used those flat sides around those areas, and then everything else is going to be your jagged, your irregular pieces. Now, it will look like it's bubbling up sometimes on some of these. Let it dry. It will most likely shrink down and give you these tighter wrinkles that look like leather. So we're gonna let that completely dry now. Again, like I said, we used, for me, we used a Paint Couture satin top coat. I have lots of it, so you could use Mod Podge if you want. Any top coat will work as well. For me, the idea is that the top coat's going to seal this as well, so I can kind of save a little bit of steps because you'd want to seal the paper bags or the paper so that it doesn't absorb oils and body oils or anything like that. The wall is nice and dry. It's been 24 hours since we applied the paper, so it's ready for our next treatment. Now, I was thinking I was going to do a glaze over this, but there's enough light and dark in this that I'm happy with it. It looks similar to leather. It's pretty cool. I had a friend that did this on her floor in her shop, so it's very durable. If you're doing it on a floor, put some floor sealer, a couple of coats of floor sealer, and you're set. So what we're doing now is I'm doing a little bit of a stencil here. Let's see, there we go. So we're just stenciling little bits here and there. It's not going to be all over. It's just going to be here and there. Just kind of a faint glimmer of some metallic. We're using the Paint Couture Stardust, one of my favorites, and we're using one of our Prima redesign. This one is retired, this particular stencil, but we're going to go ahead and use it today for our project. So I'm going to show you what I'm doing with the stencils here. So I'm going to go up fairly high, make sure I don't knock anything down. So I'm going to go up fairly high here and kind of off center to that, and we're going to make sure we're straight. And I'm using painter's tape to keep it on the wall. Let me shift this so you guys can see it. All right, so it's way up there. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is take, like I said, some Stardust from Paint Couture. Get some on my brush here. We're using a brush, which is not the norm for me. Usually I use a sponge brush, but with the metallic, it's just easier to get it all on there with the brush. So we're gonna be pouncing. Pounce. So I am pouncing till I don't really see much of the metallic coming off anymore, and then I'll swirl it around, and it gives me a fainter kind of a ghosty stencil in the areas that I swirl it. So it's not meant to be a perfect stencil. All right, so now I'm going to go ahead and start to swirl. Swirly, swirl, swirl, and I'm just kind of blending that in because it was a little chunky over here. We just want to get a little bit of metallic kind of all over, so you're going to see some light and some darker areas. Okay, all right. So, moment of truth now. We're going to go ahead and remove this from our paper. Alright. Get a little nervous. Alright, so we've got some light and dark. You guys can't see it on the camera, but it's really faint here. So it looks like it's nothing there on the camera. It's real faint. We're also going to throw on some transfers here in a bit. So let's let this dry and we'll put some transfers on, alright? we've got our Stardust stenciled onto our paper wall. And keep in mind, we're actually going to do all 4 walls in here. We've got 2 smaller walls and then the 2 bigger walls that we have here. And then we're going to do a treatment on the floor. And I have an idea I want to do on the floor, so I'm kind of leaving that transfer will be a little bit busier that we're going to do on the floor. So I'm leaving that, the busier stuff, for another time. So we're going to go a little more subtle here. It's got just a few of these kind of spread out throughout, just kind of like a, oh look. And I'm not quite sure where we're going to put our hooks yet for the fitting room, and we also have some signage that will go in here as well, so that will all fit in after we've got all of the walls done. So I'm going to use today the spring branch transfer to give kind of a little leafy branch happening going there. And then we also have the Parisian butterflies, which I love, that has branches of butterflies and birds. So we're going to incorporate that on this wall, and eventually we're going to finish our fitting room. So let's go ahead and get started. I'm going to go ahead and start cutting out some of the spring branch branches. So if you guys are new to transfers, we have quite a few videos that we do them, but they come rolled up in a tube. Sometimes they're taped together. There's been a few that I've seen that are not taped, but you always get your transfer parts. So typically it does come with a stick, which I normally don't use because we use our transfer tool. I just like the transfer tool, so much easier for me to use. So you're just going to unroll and get all of the stuff that comes with it. There's instructions, you know, like we all do. And there's guides on here to help you guide how you want your branches to go. So I'm going to go ahead and pull some, try not to get them to come apart yet. Alright, so we're going to start with one of these because I like the way it is going here. So you see that, we're going there. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and cut this out and we'll go ahead and get started. I have my part all cut out. Now there's lots of extra berries that come on this particular sheet. I just cut everything out that I didn't want. We're going to start in the far corner and go across. Now on your transfers, this is your paper backing. You're going to go ahead and take that off, and we are going to probably need a little bit of tape just to make sure this doesn't roll off on me. Alright, so we take it like this, and I'm going to, oh, okay, so once you see something, that transfer doesn't go all the way to the end, and it's harder to get it to go in a corner, so just cut till you get that edge you want. So this will go up to the edge. I want it to look like the branches are coming out of this place right there, and I'm going right across my little cute damas that I stenciled on a little minute ago. Alright, so I'm going to go ahead and put a little tape there. I'm going to kind of squish it on. Woo! Okay, nothing to worry about there. Alright, so I'm going to take, now you can take the little stick that comes free, which is this guy. It's a free stick. I have lots of them, so if you ever need an extra one, we have them. I use the transfer tool. It is just easier for me to get the pressure I want on the piece. Now this is a little bit different surface. This is a little rougher than we normally transfer to. So it's going to take a little bit more love and care to get this off, but we are going to get it off of this transfer paper. So we're just going to rub, and let's see how we're doing. Yay. Alright, so sometimes this one wants to stick, so just put it right back down and keep going. That's all you need to do. All right, let's see if we can get, okay. Sometimes a quick trick for you, when your paper isn't wanting to come up and you have no fingernails, because that's just how life goes, and you paint a lot, and you tend to break all your nails. So just put a little dab of tape so that'll pull that edge up for you. See? Super duper easy now. All right, so I'm gonna try to get this tilted a little more. It's a very short room. It is 88 inches tall. We're gonna keep going. We're gonna take this, we're gonna keep burnishing it on there, and we'll show you our finished product. All right, before we go to our next step, I thought I'd go over and once you've got your transfer on your piece, your wall, your piece, your floor, whatever you're doing, your project, and I will warn you and tell you, if trying to put it onto a semi-gloss or satin latex paint is one of the hardest things to do. So just keep that tip in mind if you're doing it with a putting a transfer on latex paint. It doesn't quite work as easily. So now that we have our transfer on our wall, we do want to make sure we get all the air bubbles out of it, because we are going to put a sealer on to make sure that it stays nice and pretty and new. So I'm going to take my finger, and you can take it with a cloth around it. Normally I do, but I don't today. And we're going to work our way from inside and work our way outside, and just making sure we press all of the air bubbles out. So if you do have an air bubble in, you will cause it to heal. So what happens if you have a bubble in your transfer, you put a top coat on, it starts to dry and it pulls it, and will kind of make a bubble or a blister, a busted blister look on your transfer, and you'll be really sad because you'll feel like you ruined a piece. But don't worry, if that ever happens to you, just sand it back, and either you can start over or put another transfer on top of it, or sand it to make it look rustic. There's never perfection is just like whatever. I don't aim for perfection. I aim for is it pretty, and do I like it? You know what I mean? Like, there's always going to be a flaw. If you are trying to aim for perfection, you will be really probably frustrated with the process. Just let it flow. Just let it flow, let it go, all that good stuff. Like, I have some berries that blew up, maybe bird attacked them, I don't know. So we're just gonna go with it. I'm not redoing this, and I like my busted berries. So, you know, I might have a butterfly flying over them in a little bit. So if you make a boo-boo, it's okay. If your whole limb fell off, who cares? Put another one up there. If your leaf fell off, put a bird over it. It's a lot of solutions to fixing a lot of small problems with your project when you're doing transfers. A lot of people kind of freak out, and I'm like, don't freak out. It's totally easy. So we're going to continue this, and we'll show you for real the finished product. While this project is far from complete, we hope you enjoyed this portion as much as we enjoyed creating it. And as always, happy painting.